Hi everybody, my name is Ryan Stapleton. I'm one of your judges for this year's 24-hour animation competition. I want to congratulate you all for taking time out of your busy schedules to create a 30-second short. I actually won this competition back in 2010, and I wanted to give you a few tips and tricks on how to do that right now. The first suggestion I would give you is to brainstorm your story ideas. No idea be wrong. Take your time and really think through of what kind of story you want to tell. You only have 30 seconds to do this, so it also helps to watch commercials that you like to give yourself a good idea of framing your shots and how much time you have to tell your story. The second thing you want to do is make sure your story is clear. Great animation is awesome, but you can't animate your way out of a bad story. Make sure your shots are clear and have a purpose. The third thing I would say is to give yourself ample time to submit your project. I'd say an hour and a half to 2 hours just to be safe. If something will go wrong, it will go wrong. And finally, be respectful of one another. In the professional world, not everything is going to go your way. Don't let a 24-hour animation competition ruin your relationship with your teammates. You never know when you're going to meet them again. All that said, good luck everybody, and congratulations. Bye.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back. And my name is Aubrey Mintz. I'm the creator of 24 Hours Animation Contest for Students. And thank you, Ryan Stapleton, who is one of our judges, a storyboard artist at 20th Century Fox, Glen Keane Productions, Netflix, DreamWorks, Nickelodeon, Warner Brothers. So hopefully you heard what he had to say about starting your projects. Take your time, get your stories solid, and then go for it. But even better than a recorded message, today I bring you live a real person who is a great friend, an animation director and the title designer for Bojack Horseman, creator of Dallas and Robo, supervising director of Final Space and Strange Planet, amongst many other things. My good friend, Mike Roberts, welcome to 24 Hours.
Hi, everybody. Thanks, Aubrey.
Thank you. Thanks for taking your time on a Friday evening, and you're in Canada, I understand. Is that right?
Yeah, which is like 17, 20 hours in the future.
That's right. So you can play it back, and I'll still be here.
I've already seen the results.
Mike Roberts is a longtime friend of 24 Hours. He's probably been a judge the most of any judge in 24 Hours history. But this year I gave him a hall pass from not doing the judging, but he has to come and do a Q&A with all of you fine folks and talk about how to begin your projects here, which you've already started, because we're now, what, 2.5 hours into the competition.
Wow, that's the lion's share right there.
That's it. They should be done by now.
Yeah. What are you waiting for?
What are we doing? So, Mike, I'm just going to fire off a few questions. We'll just have a conversation, and then we're going to open it up to the group. So start thinking about questions that you might have along the way. Feel free to type them in the chat, and one of us will respond. Or if you have a specific question for the amazing Mike Roberts, hold off and we'll open it up at the end of our conversation here. Mike.
Hi.
You have been involved in many animation productions.
Sure.
From probably independent stuff and lower budget stuff to some of the topper budget stuff.
Yeah, topper's the right word. Not quite
topper.
Not quite top-ish.
Top-ish. And so in a contest like this, you know, you've had to think to work on your toes. Okay, let me ask you an easy question. What is the quickest you've ever turned around, you know, let's say 30 seconds of animation?
Oh, well, that's an interesting question, because like that to me is just about what you need to complete, right? So I've turned around one shot of someone talking in an hour, you know, like depending on what it is, if you have art created and you could just make the mouth move. But like if it's 3 shots in 30 seconds, it could take 12 hours. You know, if it's super complicated, you could take 3 weeks to do 30 seconds. You could take a month to do 30 seconds. So
are these folks crazy for trying to do it in 24 hours?
Not at all. No, not at all. I think you're crazy for not taking an eye, you're keeping an eye on scope. So I feel like it was a leading question in the sense of like, what could you do in 24 hours, right? Am I right there, Aubrey? I think like maybe
read the question. Never.
Yeah. So what I would say is like you have to be able to understand what you're capable of in 24 hours, and anything beyond what you've done. Like you can take swings, of course, but if you haven't felt like, oh, this is something I've done before, you then have to half the time. So now what can I do in 12 hours? And then if it's something that sounds crazy, okay, well, what can I do in a couple of hours? Because you still want to leave yourself time if it all goes to hell. What are you going to do? You don't just give up. So you got to basically make sure you're constantly aware of what the goal is, I guess.
Yeah.
For 30 seconds.
Right. Okay. So let's say you were competing in 24 hours. How do you approach this? Like, you've got 24 hours to make a 30-second. What's the first thing that you would tackle?
Should I answer that as a judge, as a person who's judged?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. I would say number
Mike
one is
a really harsh judge, by the way, everyone. Really harsh.
Am I? I think tough but fair, Aubrey. Okay, so I think the first thing you want to do is decide on whether you want to make what do you want to make the person watching it feel? Because there's two things. There's watching something once, and then there's watching something in a sea of other videos that are all fundamentally constructed similarly, 30 seconds, animation, blah, blah. So do you want to make someone laugh? Do you want to make someone feel something? And I feel like from my experience, a lot of them have made somebody feel something, but very few have made them laugh. That made me laugh. So I would argue if you're going for maudlin, if you're going for the heart, make sure you're going to hit the heart, because if you hit the heart and I always say the difference between like emotional and maudlin is huge. So like the first 15 minutes of Up is very emotional, risking being maudlin, and they essentially have to apologize for an hour and a half after they make you cry for the first 15 seconds or 15 minutes. So what's the goal of your piece? Is it to make someone cry? Are you going to make someone cry in 30 seconds? I don't know. Are you going to make someone laugh in 30 seconds? Maybe. So I think that's what it is. Like, what do you want the person to feel is probably the easiest way to get to 30 seconds of material. There's a million other things you can do, but that's what I would say is the experience of a judge. What am I feeling? Am I supposed to laugh?
Right.
Make me laugh.
Set the tone at the beginning.
Set the tone and be consistent with tone, because even though it's 30 seconds, you'd be surprised how quickly you can zone out.
Yeah. And then, okay, so you set your tone, and what's step two? How do we go into action here?
Well, I'm always oh my God, COVID. I'm always a Too soon. Sorry. I'm always a fan of like taking passes. Like you got to think of it like kneading bread, right? Like we're right in the. Oh wait, I'm not even supposed to talk about it. On other shows, when you're right in the height of animatic, and you're kneading bread, it's where are the lumps? It's where are the lumps. So the more you're sitting there and it's going to be a bottleneck. You're going, oh, it's 30 seconds. I've got 24 hours. What am I going to do? It's only been 2 hours. We have nothing on the paper. Put down 10 thumbnails. I know this scene's kind of this. I know this shot's kind of this. I know this is kind of this. And then look at it and go, I've got 10 thumbnails and I can work to this. And if you have those 10 thumbnails and you know what your last thumbnail is, it's going to be a heck of a lot easier to start again on that first thumbnail. So I would say the more you can be kneading the bread, the more clearly you're kneading the bread, the better you're going to do. So I think that's the main thing is like, if you're working on the first second in isolation, that should feel dangerous.
Yeah.
But if you know what 30 seconds is, and then you're back to another 30 seconds and another 30 seconds.
Yeah. And I think it's about using that team. Like if you go back to Ernest Hemingway talking about writing, he would say the first draft of anything is crap.
Yeah. That's a great way to put it.
And so it's like, if you want the audience to get it, it's going to take that kneading that Mike was talking about to be able for it to resonate with everybody else. And especially if you're going for a tone like making someone emote in some way or another, you've got to nail it. So it's about getting several options out, which is great advice.
If you've made a bad version in 3 hours, you still have 21 hours to fix it.
Absolutely. I tell everyone, like, don't be worried unless it's midnight and you don't have your idea yet. Midnight.
Yeah, but I mean, like, also here's a piece of advice that me as a aspiring old person, as a successfully old person, is don't. Oh, did I just lose my train of thought? Don't. Wait. Oh God, tell me what you were saying again. I totally lost my train of
I was
thought.
talking about Ernest Hemingway, and then I was talking about. I lost my own train of thought even thinking about.
I did it to you. No, I think like the idea is that you want to make sure you're not. Oh, that's what it was. Okay, it's not the best idea that's going to win.
Right.
It's the idea that everyone agrees to make that's going to be the idea, and that's a really hard one because you're going to have 5 or 6 people. I don't know how many people are on the teams. Everyone's going to have a different idea. But if 4 people agree on it and you can convince that last person who's real adamant that their idea was better, you're still going to make something better than if one person is convinced they're right. Any one person who's convinced they're right is actually wrong. So unless you can kind of figure out the idea that you can all agree to make, you're not going to finish. So I think like the thing to think about is compromise. And that doesn't mean artistically, intellectually. It means you're a team and teams work under compromise and you'll make something better if you compromise. And that's a tough one to learn. I mean, I've learned it the hard way 1,000 times trying to think, oh, I'm such a genius. It's like that's the best way to fail.
Yeah, absolutely. But there's also something about sticking to an artistic vision. And then
No question.
You know, sometimes it takes someone to help lead that, but making sure that everyone else is buying into it is
If
crucial.
you have a clear leader and they have a dream, they have a path, and everyone else agrees with that path, that's probably your best case scenario, because then you're essentially appointing an organizer. And no matter what, if that person can keep the momentum, everyone else can kind of play off their energy. It's not like everyone has to agree to be the same thing, because then you have to delegate. You have to go, who's best at thumbs? Do it. Who's best at boards? Do it. Who's best at character design? Do it. And if you're not all thinking in those terms and everyone's like, oh, I want a board, I want a board, I want a board. So it happens at every step. I'm not just talking about writing the script or whatever. It's who's the best person in that moment to take on that role.
I think that's a great thing. And for everyone to hear that not everyone has to be at the table all the time. And knowing that you put the right team together, that maybe 2 or 3 are story people and want to sit at the table while other 2 are just doing some concept drawings or character stuff. And you literally start relying on that pipeline you've created so that the project can start moving ahead without having everyone to see every step.
And also in 24 hours, something to really remember, that this is maybe personal, right? So you always have to. Maybe Aubrey brought me in just to trick everybody, and we have pre-existing answers that are the wrong answers. But try to hear me out. I think like a better story with worse animation is going to be a better movie than bad story with good animation. And I think the reason I'm saying that is because the most exquisite animation in the world with a bad story, no one cares. You know, I hate to be like that, but it's true. Because like you can shoot a great movie on an iPhone, and then if that weren't real, you can shoot a bad movie on 70 millimeter. And I look at it the same way with animation. A badly animated can be the most beautiful thing you've ever seen, and who gives a shit?
Yeah.
So I'd rather see something scrappy and weird and crazy and fun than something that is just a show off. You know, it's like think of the most beautifully sculpted chair that's uncomfortable. No one's ever going to sit on it.
Nice. Sorry, I've got a dog doing something in the background.
Who is it?
It's Ralph, my dog Ralph. Relax, Ralph. So now everyone's at the table. They've split up their jobs. Story people have started to brainstorm. How do you start drawing characters before the story is developed? You know, like do you start with pie in the sky ideas? Are you just listening? Doodling? How do you start inspiring the artwork?
Well, one way to think about it is theme, right? Like if your characters have to do a thing, especially in 30 seconds. So you could have your protagonist and your antagonist. So you don't want to start drawing heroes and villains, right? Is this a story about 2 friends? Do they look similar? Is the story about 2 people who don't agree? Then maybe it's worth thinking about 2 characters that don't agree. You can pretty much glue any character into any story in 30 seconds if you do it right. You could have a squirrel and a scorpion having the same story as 2 trees. depending on what the story is, right? So I think character design is more about like thinking what the tone you want to set with your characters is. Are these animals? Great, that's a blank slate. Are they real people? Okay, well now you have some work to do because everyone knows what people do. So two animals, no one really is going to argue if a scorpion's eating a sandwich, right? Like no one's gonna be like, oh man, scorpions don't do that. But if you have a person eating a sandwich, now you start going, what's on the table? What kind of sandwiches? I eat sandwiches. I'm a person. So like writing characters that are clean slates makes writing quickly easy. So I think like your character designs, not that they don't matter, they matter, but I would rather see two ping pong balls with funny drawings on them, stop motion, than exquisitely designed characters that have no character.
And what about like some inspirational work, whether they create it or find it, on Google, putting together like mood boards or something?
Yeah, mood boards are great. Pinterest is a really good one, but you can trust me, you can spend an hour on Pinterest and get nothing done. Or like Vimeo staff picks, animation is a great place to start if you want to like quickly scan through stuff that's fun. I also think it's a really big one to do the thing you know. So if you have someone on your team who's like has put together a quick film in stop motion before, do it. If there's 3 people on your team that know a specific piece of software, do it. Like if everyone on the team knows After Effects and you know how to get there quick, use it. Toon Boom Harmony, that's like I've never seen that done well without 100,000 people and 100,000 hours. So like, be careful, like Flash, shit gets done in Flash real fast. So I think like knowing your proficiency is more important than, no one's going to give a shit how you made it. So make it in the way that makes you feel empowered and speedy.
Someone is pulling up to the door. That's why the dogs are barking. This is what happens when you Zoom at home. So hopefully they're
Don't
not.
They know a little time everyone has, Aubrey? You tell them.
Don't they know I'm Zooming? Okay, so now they're got together. They've done some drawings. How do we know? Okay, what about spending too much time on story? Like, how do you know when just to cut the cord and say we've got to move on and settle?
Well, now here's the other thing about animation, and this is something everyone, I'm sure, Aubrey, you've gone over it 1,000 times in your classes. Story is being written until you deliver it. And Quentin Tarantino famously said, the editor is the last writer. And however you feel about Quentin Tarantino, which I have, fair enough, that's good advice. So I think like feeling like you've got a story locked in, that's when you start moving. You can fix it. If you don't like it, keep going, but don't stop until you feel like you like it.
That's great. Okay. Oh, you want to say hello real quick? Just real quick.
Hello.
Real
Hey,
quick.
buddy.
Everyone's watching here. Thank you. Thanks for being here. And then, okay, so now they've got story. They've got to nail it down. And then, okay, thinking about smart production, Mike, you've been on.
Well, I don't know anything about smart. Sorry.
Productions that have to get done quickly and smart and clever with, how do you plan for smart, efficient production, basically?
Well, I think always feeling like this is possible, right? Like if you set out to do the impossible, you won't do it. And I know that's maybe a cheesy answer because like whatever, but a lot of people are like, I've never seen this before. I've never done this before. I don't know how to do this, but let's try it, is like not a healthy way to explore something like this. This should be like everything you've learned up to this point. This is not a learning time. This is an executionatory time. Executory? There's some word in there that probably fits. So like, that's the secret, is like, what was the question? Did I answer it? I felt like I answered it, but I can't remember the question.
Well, I just think like, okay, let's get into design. Like, how would you give advice about being efficient with design so that it's animatable basically within 24?
Oh, I see. Well, yeah. If you want to talk about like sort of nuts and bolts of it,
yeah.
Like, again, I think like if you're drawing nostrils, you're probably doing too much detail. Like how many buttons on the jacket? Does the jacket have to be telling you it needs buttons? Like if you're drawing buttons on a jacket, they better be unbuttoning that jacket. That's right. That's the bottom line. And even if they are unbuttoning the jacket, do you need to show the buttons until you unbutton the jacket? So like that's constantly a question you can be like, can one line do where 2 would? Can one line do where 4 would? Same with backgrounds. Is this Are you making a joke about Disney? Well, then you got to make it look like Disney. You know, are you telling a story? Think of how many cartoons are successful with no background.
Right.
And you know, editorial cartoons tell a joke in one panel. So I think that's really important to just think about what you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
You could spend a whole night painting a fantastic background to tell a one-shot story, and that would be worth it. But if you're going to tell 10 backgrounds, you got to make sure you can draw 10 backgrounds in whatever hours. And you can also sketch your background, lay it down on your thumbs. Think of how the animation process works in a series, right? You never work to complete. You do a very rough animatic, and then you clean up that animatic, and then you add acting, and you're constantly churning it. And you show it to people and show it to people and watch it and watch it and watch it and watch it. You should be in the habit of watching your animatic. If you're not building an animatic, you're probably really in trouble. But if you should be watching your animatic every 15 minutes. You know, like just keep showing it, just keep thinking about it. So anyway, you could tell a great story in 30 seconds with one cool background, and then send someone off into a room and tell them to come back when it's done, or vice versa. Do a time.
I love that point about updating the animatic, and you know, just so that the students understand what we're talking about. It's not just, you know, making edits to a storyboard, but as rough animation comes in, throw it in the animatic so you can see how that's playing. You know, you're basically building your film one scene at a time. That way you're always making sure it's working. One scene's hooking up with the other scene, and there's no surprises at the end.
And to that end too, like, be recording scratch track real early. Like, don't worry about final audio, worry about getting something down, because the amount of times where the funniest joke in the entire episode came in at the last second in scratch, and then they had to redo it with the actor later, it happens all the time. So like, try to make if it's funny, try to make everybody laugh with your line reads, you know? Just always be thinking about what your audience is supposed to be getting out of this thing.
I'm going to do one more question, then we're going to open up to the audience here. Okay, so let's say they're further along in production, they're animating, they've got some great scenes that are finished in color, some that are rough animation, but it doesn't look like they're going to make it to the end.
Yeah.
What would you suggest? Do they try and keep it consistent and scrap the color, or try and speed the color? What would you do?
Be consistent, I think. Yeah. I think honestly, at that point, make sure your audio's good. Make sure you can understand what's happening. I think comprehensibility is your constant thing, right? Like, if I'm successful at anything, it's making comprehensible boards. And I know that sounds crazy, but you'd be amazed at how sometimes the first pass of an animatic, you're like, what the hell am I watching? And that's like in a room with professionals who are all getting paid a lot of money, and they still go, what the hell am I watching? So like, comprehensibility is job one. And I think like making a rough black and white animation, I don't know how many points you get for completion, but I'd rather lose a point for completion than a point for story.
Well, unfortunately, they're the same amount of points.
That's what I'm saying. So if you have to take one and take it off of completion, because isn't there like an overall category? Like, well, you need a tiebreaker category. You need like all right, you know what? Afterwards, I feel great. 5 out of 10.
How did the judge feel out of 10 points? I
mean, but that's I think, I'm not telling you how to do your job, Aubrey, but like, that's a really important thing, is how do you feel? You know, that's like, you come out of a movie.
Did you cry?
How do you feel?
Did you
cry? Bad movies that make you feel good.
Yeah. And there's some good movies that make you feel bad.
Absolutely. And they're all directed by David Fincher.
Okay, let's open it up to the audience that hopefully is still here listening to us.
Oh, harsh.
All right. We have a question that says, do you think a simple story is easy to read is better than a more complicated one that may take another watch to understand the meaning? I think we kind of talked a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think if you're asked, if the question is a complicated story better than a simple one, the answer is no.
No.
Ever in 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Like I was thinking about, I was watching Casino Royale, and like, I don't think I've ever totally understand it. Like, this is I've watched it 100 times, and this time I was like, oh, so the bomb maker, and then he did this, and then he went, okay, and then he went there. And I think that like, making your audience do that only works if the rest of the ride is great. So you can do that if you're J.J. Abrams and your characters are super exciting. Then it doesn't really matter if your plot's good. So complexity is there's two things. Complex is not complex if the audience understands it. And that's like a Mission Impossible movie. Those are all horrendously complex. But you don't care. You're having fun. So like it just depends on what you mean by complexity. And I think if you're asking if a complex story is better than a simple one, the answer is no.
Yeah, and then just to add to that, if you find that you have to explain something that you've created because of the story, if you're spending too much screen time explaining it, it's not worth it, especially in 30 seconds.
Nobody is giving you a point for being clever.
Nobody, except for Mike. Okay.
I'm adding a bunch of categories, Aubrey. Sorry.
Cleverness. The next question is it worth the time to put intrigue in the story or try to stick with clarity? I think that's kind of a question from the one we just had.
Yeah, I think it's clear. I think it's clarity. I think like if you intrigue is important, but clarity is more important.
Okay.
Intrigue. Think of it this way. You know what? Here's a great way to know if you're what you can put in or not. Is it giving you new information? Right. Every line should be new information, and if 2 lines have no new information, you probably need to cut one of them.
Cut the shoe leather.
Shoe leather that needs to go.
Gone.
Around the edges. The bottom part's important.
Any other piece of advice you can think of, Mike, in our 3 minutes we have remaining here?
Oh my God, that's it? I heard someone elaborate on Toon Boom. Did I see that pop up? Can you elaborate on? Am I allowed to like answer questions I see pop up?
Given that our main sponsor might be.
Oh boy! I did it! I knew it.
So let's just skip that one.
Is that where the guys are banging on the door?
I think, and everyone should use what they're able to use.
Well, I did caveat: if you know what you're doing, do it.
If you know what you're doing, and there's great things in every.
Listen, I use Storyboard Pro every day. It's the best thing for making storyboards.
We'll grab that one and put it up.
Yep. I do use Storyboard Pro every day. Where's my iPad version, guys?
Come on. So any parting words you want to leave this group with? We've got teams from all over the world.
That's too much pressure. I don't know. I think like be real clear on what you want the audience to feel. Make them laugh, make them cry, but like you need to know it. And if it's not making the team feel it, it's not going to make anybody else feel it.
Love it. Mike Roberts, thank you for spending your half hour with us and being so great from Canada, and keep doing what you're doing.
I came to Canada just for this test, just so I could represent.
Well, there are a lot of teams from Canada here, so say hi.
Good luck, everybody, even if you're not from Canada.
Mike, enjoy the rest of your evening. And we will start doing a group check-in, everyone. Thanks, Mike.
See you guys. Wait, how do I shut it off? I'm still here. Let me out.
Okay, folks, so we're going to do our check-in now. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to start calling out the list of schools that are in this region. And all I want you to do is give yourselves a pat on the back and cheer as loud as you can. So even though we can't hear you, and post something, whether it's in the chat, represent your team or your school, post some pictures on our socials. We just want to know you're alive, doing well, and how things are. So let's begin, starting with Austin P. State University. Hope all is well over there in Austin. Next, Bella Artes University. All the way from there. Next is Bradley University. Hopefully we're getting some chatter on the chat. I'm not monitoring it, but the others 24 Hours team are. Next we have, I haven't practiced my French in a while. Cégep de Vieux Montréal. Welcome, welcome. And next we have Central Michigan University. We getting some chatter, Lucia, Liz? I'm getting thumbs up. I'm getting thumbs up. And next we have College for Creative Studies. Hello, hello. Next we have Columbia College in Chicago. Welcome to 24 Hours. And Columbus College of Art and Design. Welcome. And finishing up the C's, nope, 2 more C's. We have Concordia University. And finally, from Kitchener, Ontario, Conestoga College. Welcome. And then we have the E's, Edinburgh University of Pennsylvania. Uh-oh, I'm gonna need some help on the next one. I'm so sorry, I'm gonna butcher this. Faculdade Miales. That was my wife is laughing at me on the side. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. Another one that I'm gonna try here. Fundacio Armando Alvarez. Lucia, how did I do? She's just laughing too. They're both laughing. Everyone's just laughing. I'm sorry. Pentadeo? Pentadeo? Pentadeo?
God bless you.
Penteado? Penteado. And next we have Huntington University. And let's hear it for Kansas City Art Institute. Hope you're all doing well. And next we have Maine College of Art and Design. Welcome to 24 Hours, folks. And a returning school for years and years and years. One of the originals here, Middle Tennessee State University, MTSU. And the school I was going to go to, if I didn't go to Sheridan College, Ontario College of Art and Design, OCAD. You should see the building. It's such an inspiring building. And next we have RISD, Rhode Island School of Design. Welcome. And one of the three-time winners from 4 years ago, Ringling College of Art and Design. Welcome, Ringling. And next we have Savannah College of Art and Design. Welcome, SCAD. And of course, School of Visual Arts. Hope you're all well. And from Toronto, Seneca College. How are you? And the team that might have, or the school that might have the most teams this year with 24, I think 24 teams, Sheridan College. Welcome. Then we have State University of New York at Fredonia. Maybe the first time they're competing. Welcome. And then we have Syracuse University. Oh, good. I'm hearing that people are checking in on all different types of social medias. Great, great, great. That's what we wanted. And next we have University of North Carolina. Welcome. And I think School of the Arts belongs with them, I'm pretty sure. And next is Virginia Commonwealth University. Welcome, welcome. And last but certainly not least, in Region 1 is William Patterson University. Well, folks, I hope you're all alive and well. It's now 3 hours into the contest. You should be having fun with story. Do not panic. Listen to what Mike Roberts said. Figure out what your tone is, where you're going. Try a bunch of things. This is the only time you're going to get to try it out, pitch it, do rough thumbnail boards. If it doesn't work, it's okay. You still have time. I'd say 7, 8, 9, 10. You could spend another 3 hours on story and you'd still be golden. So don't rush the stage. Story's the key point of these films. So have fun, enjoy, don't panic yet. We'll let you know when it's panic time. Our next check-in is at, I think, 9 o'clock, 2 hours from now. We'll hear from other teams. We'll have another message from a judge. And then you're going to animate into the night. And then tomorrow morning, we're going to have check-ins. And then at, I think, noon, we have Frank Lima, who's going to talk about how to finish your films. So this is how to start your films and then how to finish and export everything. Folks, enjoy, be good to each other, have fun, have fun, have fun, and make great films. I'll see you soon. Oh, did I miss one? UFC? UFSC. What does that stand for, Ben? Uh-oh. I've done it. Okay, okay. Uh, sorry, UFSC, that we didn't get you on the bottom of my list here, but welcome, welcome. Post, let us know how you're doing. Folks, enjoy. Is that good, Ben? Did we get them all? If Ben says yes, then it must be true. All right. Thanks, 24 Hours team. Thank you all. Thank you, faculty. We'll see you at the next check-in.